So I'm gonna give it just another minute so that I can make sure everyone has the opportunity to tune in. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So this is a watercolor demo, and one of the things that I like to use watercolor paintings for is DIY greeting cards. Now, I don't have a watercolor greeting card on hand, so I'm just going to show you the techniques in my sketch journal. But Amazon has actual greeting cards that are blank and are rated for watercolor and other wet medias. So I will link that in the comments of this video or the description afterwards. But yeah, you can use any of these techniques on those watercolor cards. All right, so the main technique I'm focusing on today is the wet on wet technique. So this is when you not only wet your watercolor, but you wet the paper first before you begin painting. So what I'm going to do first is take a wet brush with no pigment, only water. Now my water is a little tinted because I've been painting, so it's dirty water, but that might be good so that you can see the water more clearly. So again, I'm doing a wet on wet technique. It's wet paint on wet paper. If you do the wet on wet technique on regular copy paper, you do not have to use much water to begin with, because it will rip the fibers in copy paper. You want pretty durable watercolor paper to do this technique. You can use copy paper, but again, just don't use as much water for your base. All right, so what I'm going to do is a basic galaxy scene, and these are super popular on Pinterest. I see them all the time, and I think it would make a super cute greeting card. So what I've done now, sorry, my dishwasher's going. So I've wet my paper. What I've done now is go into my purple paint with a really wet brush. You can see that it's a pool of water and pigment. So I'm going to go into my already wet, let me get it to focus, my already wet paper with the wet color. I'm going to just kind of lay in my purple. I'll do that on both sides. And you can see that the water is siphoning the paint for you throughout the piece. Now, there are drawbacks to that. You do not have as much control as to where your pigment decides to go. That can create obvious challenges. But if you're doing something like a galaxy, and now I've went into my blue, same thing, really damp, wet blue. But if you're doing a galaxy or something that's more varied, two galaxies will look the same, then wet on wet is a decent technique, because you're not going for absolutely specific results. Okay, and now I've gotten black, damp black on my brush. I'm just going to kind of go through, add some contrast here, so the black against my blue and purple. All right, so the middle is gonna be kind of like stardust. So I want lighter blue on that section, and I don't have a light blue, but I have a white. So you can do this one of two ways. You can make a light blue by mixing your white and blue together, or watercolors are unique in that you can add water to your pigment to make it lighter. And if you want super dark saturated color, you add more pigment instead of water. So I'm just gonna go in here with a damp brush and a little bit of blue and get rid of that stark white around my stardust area. I'm also gonna fix the border. I don't feel like the stardust trail would be quite that large. And I'm gonna kind of blend this black in a little better than what it is. All right, so that is my base for my galaxy. All right. And now you can take a dry paintbrush. So I have dried it off the best I can, and you can put it in your white watercolor. I'll show you that. So I have added a little bit of white and water together, and I have coated my dry brush. And I'm just gonna kind of flick it around my galaxy. All right, now some of those stars are a little bigger than what I would have liked, so I'm gonna turn them in to kind of shooting stars. I'm just gonna kind of grab their tail and pull it. You can also go in, so the opposite of wet on wet is dry brush, and that allows you to make precise lines, absolute shapes, things like that. So you can go in with a dry brush into dry paint, and that will allow you to make straight lines and details and things of that nature. So I'm gonna go through here and put a few like shooting stars. And I'm also going to use the tip of my paintbrush with white to make the base of my star. And that's probably going to need to dry a bit before it sticks as well as I want it to. All right, so that is an example of how to do a galaxy with a wet on wet technique. Put some white through here. Okay, and I saw this adorable greeting card. I've got it on my screen. This would be perfect. Isn't it adorable? I found it on Pinterest. It's not my original work, but that technique I just showed you could be utilized up in this area. And then the rest is fairly simple illustration. It looks like she's dusting the stars off of the galaxy, so I thought that was really cute. Okay, I'm going to show you another wet on wet technique with Bob Ross trees. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do first is get a pencil, and I'm going to draw just my horizon line very lightly. There's my horizon line. So the effect I'm going for is kind of spruce or pine trees that are reflecting in water underneath. So I'm going to do a line of trees first, and I'm using a very fine point brush for this. I'm going into my blue and black to make a darker blue. And if any of my students are watching, let your classmates know or your friends know that they can go back and watch this later. This is not an assignment. This is just a leisure activity, and I thought it would be fun to show you guys how to do some of these. We've already went through several over the years if you've had me multiple times, but a refresher never hurts. All right, so for a Bob Ross styled tree rather, we're going to simply make a vertical line first, and that is all we're going to do for the trunk. Okay, I'm going to reload my brush with my dark blue. Now, you don't want to make your greenery straight on. You want to hold your brush to the side, and you're going to paint at an angle. So spruce trees taper at the top and get thicker as you go down. So what I'm going to do is just put my first, here, I'm going to go down closer to the painting so you can see better. You put your first dot at the top, and then again with an angle, just going to kind of lay in horizontal lines. You don't want to do perfect horizontal lines because it's not going to look natural. But you just want to go in zigzag motions, laying down kind of horizontal lines. When you start running out of paint, just reload your brush. And then again, it gets longer and thicker towards the bottom. All right, so there is my first Bob Ross styled tree. Fairly simple. That's why he is considered one of the greatest art teachers in the world of art, is because his technique was meant to allow the average, everyday person, even children, to paint. So he kept his techniques fairly simple. All right, so now I'm going in to get a red color for my next tree. These are not going to be realistic colored trees, by the way. I don't think I said that to begin with. Again, with the vertical trunk, I'm going to put you back up here, if it will work. And then I'm going to go in with my dot at the top, and that is what I will judge the rest of my branches on, is how big that initial piece of greenery was at the top. Ran out of paint, so grab some more. All right, so there is my red tree. Let's try to do an orange or a yellow one. All right, vertical line. It's okay if it's a little wonky. Back and forth, zigzag. It's okay if you run into the tree next to it. That happens in nature. Ooh, got a little crazy on that side. All right. I'm going to get a yellow real quick. Alright, hopefully this will show up. I'm going to do it on this side. I've got warm colors here and a cool color right here, so let's try to balance that out. Dot. do a green tree, so a more realistic one. Go over here so I can balance all this warmness out. Again, it's okay if you run into the tree next to it. Okay, I think I'm gonna be done with the tree part of this demo. Now I'm gonna show you how to create reflections as if they were over a pond or a lake. I'm just going and erasing my horizon line. All right, so here's where the wet on wet technique is gonna come in again. So I'm gonna take water and wet my paper underneath these trees. All right, and I'm gonna tilt my paper so that the color, when I put it on, will move down the paper. We want it to go in that direction. All right, so what you're gonna do is, again, wet on wet is with wet pigment on wet paper. I'm gonna get a wet brush and pull it into my yellow. And then what I'm gonna do is just go along the bottom edge of my yellow tree. And like I said earlier, the water is just gonna kind of siphon your paint for you. Let me get this, it's a little too much right there. Okay, next tree is kind of a dark blue, so I'm gonna go in with my black and blue, drag it along the edge of my blue tree. Sometimes you have to help it down if it doesn't drip how you want it to. Just wet your brush with water and kind of encourage it to do so. All right, my red tree. There it goes. Orange tree is next. And finally, my green tree. All right, then you can kind of bounce your canvas or your paper to encourage it to drip on down. Alright, so that is the wet on wet method with Bob Ross styled trees. Again, I think this would make a super cute greeting card, especially if you're sending it to someone that loves the outdoors and so forth. And again, I'll link.
Excuse me, Mommy.
Yes, baby?
I want something.
Okay, hold on. I'll link the Amazon product in the comments and descriptions so you guys can purchase those greeting cards if you want to. All right, I'm going to show you guys one more wet on wet technique. Gotta make sure my pages aren't bleeding here. All right, so this is a mixture of watercolor and pen and ink, this next one I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go in again, do the wet on wet. So that's when you wet your paper, for those of you just joining. It's when you wet your paper first with just water, and then you lay on wet paint. So what I'm going to do is create kind of just a colorful abstract background. I'm going to go in first with yellow. And there's really no rhyme or reason as to where I'm putting this. I'm just kind of leaving some space in between each section. Okay, I'm going to get some lime green this time. And I'm going to splatter some green onto this abstract background, just like I did with the stars and the galaxy watercolor that I just did a few minutes ago. So that is what it's looking like so far, just very abstract. All right, so before you put your pen on, you're gonna need to blow dry this piece because your pen, the ink, is gonna run. All right, so what I'm gonna do is scoot this over and let that dry a bit. And I'm gonna show you some very simple herbs or flowers, things of that nature that you can go over an abstract background like such to make it look cute and whimsical and nice for your greeting card. All right, so let's do like a little abstract dandelion. All right, we're just gonna do a vertical for our stem. Let's put a little tapered teardrop shape there and one there, so we're kind of staggering them. We're not making them completely symmetrical. You will very rarely find anything in nature that is symmetrical perfectly. So keeping things asymmetrical and irregular is more realistic for nature. All right, then we're going to kind of do a little U at the top of our stem and then fill it with vertical lines, just stripes. I'm going to kind of put little black clouds or scumbles. Students, you know what scumbling is. It's when you shade using circular motions. All right, and then I am going to just go in and put an assortment of lines. I'll zoom in so you can see. Okay. And then let's draw some little circles at the top. All right, so that is a very basic abstract dandelion. It is not focusing. Bear with me, guys. Okay. All right. Let's do maybe some lavender. So for the lavender, I'm going to do kind of a skewed V shape. Okay. And then I'm going to go in and just do an assortment of dots. Sorry, again, that's my dishwasher. On the tops of those stems, it's just dots of varying sizes, but you do want them to taper at the top, kind of like our Bob Ross trees did that we went over a minute ago. All right, and I'm just going to do some little leaves that are staggered again. Looks more like larkspur instead of lavender, but either one you could draw on there. Let's see here. Let's do just a simple piece of greenery that kind of looks like eucalyptus a little bit. So again, we're going to do our stem. Let's do kind of like the shape of an eye or a nut at the top here. And I'm going to separate that with a curved line that kind of mimics the curve of this top outer edge. Then I'm just going to draw one on each side. Like so. And just put your curved lines in the middle of each leaf. And then to make it more whimsical, you could go in and add little berries. So a stem and a dot, a stem and a dot, a stem and a dot. So simple pen and ink drawings like this are super cute over the top of these abstract backgrounds like we have over on this side. Okay, I'm going to test a little area of this. I don't think it's ready. I may have to just soak some of the water up. And this will alter how the background looks, by the way. It'll leave white imprints of the napkin design. Yep. But that's okay. I think it's dry enough now to where I can show you this technique. All right, so let's go in and draw our little dandelion that we went over. Alright, so there's our little dandelion. Let's do our larkspur or our lavender. Don't know which. Looks a little more like larkspur, like I said. Students, again, you are not required to do this. This is just a leisure activity. Just to give us all something fun to do during quarantine and social distancing. Just going to add another little dandelion to make it more balanced on this side. All right, and then I have not the greatest handwriting, but if we're doing a greeting card, we could just put something simple like Happy Spring. And there you go. An easy watercolor greeting card that you made yourself, so it will mean much more to whoever you're sending it to. And that's all I've got for today, guys. That's the wet on wet technique. Next Wednesday, students, I'll be going over the blur technique. We did not get to do that, and that was on our agenda for this semester. So do try to tune in for that. And I'll also probably do a Zoom lesson with you guys so that everyone can get a grade for their efforts. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.